Hello and welcome to this video on speed distance time. This is the second video on this topic. So if you haven't already watched the first one, I recommend that you do that before you watch this one. Another question that sometimes comes up under the topic of speed distance time is changing between kilometers per hour and meters per second. Now, this doesn't follow the normal rules of the speed distance time formula, okay? So this formula that you can see in the top right is not really utilised for this type of question. So let's have a look at an example. It says Pat runs a race at an average speed of 7.2 kilometres per hour. What is the speed in meters per second? Okay, you can see a little flow diagram in red in the middle of the screen here, telling you how you convert between kilometers per hour and meters per second. And this is kind of just something you're going to have to commit to memory. Okay, well, you can commit it to memory, or you can kind of work it out logically. Okay, so if you look at the flow diagram, you can see that it goes from kilometers per hour into meters. So if you're going from kilometers to meters, it makes sense that you're multiplying by 1,000. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, you walk 3 kilometers. Well, 3 kilometers is 3,000 meters. So I've had to multiply that by 1,000. If you're going per hour to per second, well, per hour to minutes, you'd need to divide by 60, and to go from minutes to seconds, you need to divide by another 60. Okay, so that is how we've got that formula to go from kilometres per hour to metres per second. So if I'm asked to go from 7.2 kilometres per hour to metres per second, I literally just need to do 7.2 multiply by 1,000, divide by 60, divide by 60, divide by 60, and divide by 60 again, and put that into your calculator. And you get that this is 2 meters per second. Does that make sense? Well, yeah, Pat, 2 meters per second seems about right. Okay, example number 2, going the other way. Okay, so from meters per second into kilometers per hour. Sam runs a race at an average speed of 3 meters per second. What is this speed in kilometers per hour? So quickly just going through how you go between these two things. So again, meters into kilometers. Well, if you think about it, say for example, I ran a 5,000 meter race. That would be 5 kilometers. Hence, you have to divide by 1,000. And if you're going from per second to per hour, to go from per second into minutes, you're multiplying by 60, and from minutes to hours, you multiply by another 60. So that's why we have to use this flow diagram. Okay, so if I'm going from 3 meters per second, I've got to do 3 divided by 1,000, multiplied by 60, and multiply by 60 again. And what do I get if I put that into my calculator? I get that the speed in kilometers per hour is 10.8. Does that seem reasonable? 10.8 kilometers per hour. If Sam's running a race at 3 meters per second, yeah, 10.8 kilometers per hour seems reasonable. Okay, so that's pretty much the only thing you're going to have to do with those questions. You'll either have to go from meters per second into kilometers per hour, or the other way, which was done in the first example. So here are some questions for you to have a go at. So pause the video now, have a go at these questions, and then resume the video to see the answers. And here are the answers. Well done for having a go at those.